Ho ho ho! Welcome to day one of the annual Boxing Day ROM Hack Fan Game Marathon. I'm just kidding, there's no such thing as that. And it's not Boxing Day anymore. On Christmas Day, I closed out the marathon by talking about the groundbreaking, illustrious Earthbound ROM hack called Earthbound Halloween Hack. This was the best hack that I have ever played in my life. The game design was incredible and the dialogue was borderline Shakespearean. I probably couldn't have picked a better game to close out the marathon if I tried. But near the end of the marathon, some things happened that I was not expecting. More fan games that I judged to be worthy of my time started to emerge. Things that if they were even a few days earlier, I would have put in the marathon without a moment's hesitation. For a second I was like, well that sucks, how can I talk about these games outside of the marathon? But then I was like, oh right, it's my show, I can do whatever I want. And today I'm gonna be talking about something that I alluded to earlier this month. Star Fox 64, one of the best Nintendo 64 games that you can play, was fully decompiled earlier this year. In the matter of Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, a game getting decompiled has been followed up shortly by a native PC port of the game. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened with Star Fox. This is Starship. This is a fan-made PC port of Star Fox 64 that offers all kinds of incredible enhancements. I've been waiting for Star Fox 64 mods ever since I discovered the very concept of ROM hacks in the first place, and this is a very good sign that we could be getting exactly that in due time. A beta version of this project was first shown off by Rakanai, who was chosen specifically because he's a professional player. I guess they didn't want someone who sucks ass at the game to show it off and potentially misrepresent their work, so that's what we call a smart move. Star Fox is kinda like Mother in that it's a series that's carried by the fan base because Nintendo doesn't give a shit. It's not a one-to-one comparison. For one thing, all the games actually did get localized, but it's a series that gets very middling official attention. At least Mother is understandable. Shigesato Itoi decided that he was done, and Mother 3 is just as satisfying of a conclusion to a series as you could hope for. But Star Fox is harder to understand, at least as somebody who doesn't work for Nintendo. It seems like such a straightforward thing that they only really nailed once or twice if you count Assault, which is pretty good. But in a series with like 7 or 8 games, it's accepted nearly unanimously that Star Fox 64 is the main Star Fox game. From that perspective, it makes perfect sense that Star Fox 64 would get a PC port. Really, I think you just knew I had to talk about this one way or another, and any excuse to play Star Fox 64 again should be taken without hesitation. Starship offers a ton of new features. The most obvious one is enhanced visuals and frame rate. We've been playing this game at high resolutions for a while now through emulation, but it was still capped at 30 FPS for the most part. So being able to play this game at 60 FPS and possibly even higher if your setup allows it, it's a whole new ball game, and for a game this fast-paced, built on second-to-second action, it's kind of a big deal. I consider myself to be relatively good at Star Fox 64. I mean, obviously I'm not as good as this dude, but I know all the cheats and tricks. I know how to get bonus points by shooting at nothing, you know what I mean? 60 FPS might not seem like a big deal to somebody who's been playing this game since it came out, but holy shit, playing this way made me never want to go back to the N64, or even the emulator ever again, because I can do that stuff way more consistently than I ever could before.
What's taking so long, Fox?
Peppy, I'm trying to get the high score. You're breaking my concentration. Stop it. My PS3 controller worked right out of the gate, even with full Rumble support. This game actually came with the Rumble pack originally, so you gotta have that. One of my favorite new features is the ability to skip the mission briefing. This is a game that's famous for being all action and no filler, so this is actually an incredible feature. The game is still being worked on, so one day I hope they add a feature that lets you skip the debriefing as well. That would be awesome. I also love the feature of being able to select the levels manually directly from the map. I kept forgetting I had this on and started accidentally re-entering levels that I just beat and having to exit using another feature of the game, which is exiting the level whenever you want. There are a bunch of debugging options that I don't fully understand, but I'm sure somebody really appreciates the fact that they're there. One of the more subjective features of the Nintendo 64 hardware is the texture filtering solution. There are people who can explain it better than I can, but essentially the way the Nintendo 64 handles textures often results in this smeared look that some people have compared to Vaseline. There are areas where this works to its benefit, and people who understood the hardware the best could make the most out of it, but in general, people tend to prefer the unfiltered textures on the PlayStation as far as I can tell. Yeah, they were pixelated, but a lot of the time, people find it more appealing. With Starship, you can actually turn the texture filtering off altogether, and I do think it looks better a lot of the time, although there are some crappier things like the searchlights. I mean, look at that. As I said, it's better for some things and not for others. The game was originally built with trilinear filtering in mind, so it makes perfect sense that not everything looks so good without it. This port still has some issues to work out. There are crashes here and there and some visual bugs, but it's still incredible on the whole. And they seem prepared to support it for the foreseeable future, so all of this stuff could be fixed one day. Even though the features on display here are already incredible on their own, what's really exciting is what this means for the future. The Mario 64 PC ports were the first step towards things like Render 96 or the hard/gore mod. Not to mention the stuff they're doing to Ocarina of Time with things like Ship of Harkinian. The potential for Star Fox 64 modding has gone almost entirely unexplored until this point. And believe me, I checked. I've been checking regularly for years. Having a native PC port blows the lid off of what's possible in the future. Think for instance about all the uncompressed voice lines that were leaked 100 years ago. I'm not a developer, but I have to imagine a mod that puts those back in the game would be in the cards now.
Do a barrel roll!
Who wouldn't want to hear Slippy say "oh no" at the top of his lungs 100 times?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Shut up! I think for me, though, I'm interested to see what an all-new campaign with new enemies and narrative would look like, not to mention new dialogue. Maybe they could say Pigma Balls a bunch of times.
Pigma Balls!
They could bring in Saria or add Crystal as a character. Estelle Ellis came back for Star Fox Horizons, so I imagine she'd probably get in on something like that too. The future of Star Fox 64 modding is looking very bright, but what's happening in the present is already very impressive. Starship 64 is basically everything I would have wanted from a native PC port of the game, but it will also most assuredly be the groundwork for all kinds of incredible mods and expansions. We could be seeing Andross's face with ray-traced reflections or Super Render 96 style graphical overhauls. Maybe they'll put on-foot missions in the game like Star Fox Assault, or maybe even add online multiplayer. The possibilities are potentially limitless, and who knows, maybe one day in the next few years we could get Star Fox 74 or even Star Fox B3313 or some shit. I guess we'll see.